Ladies and gentlemen, we are live on air. We are multi-streaming on multiple platforms with the latest updates coming from the interwebs about Hurricane Milton, a historic storm that is about to make landfall south of Tampa, north of Cape Coral, and it appears as if ground zero will be Venice. So is good, and hit that thumbs up. Okay, everyone, welcome to the show. We've got a lot of people already in here commenting. Chris Bulldog, The Watchman, Graham Bliss, Reverse Universe is in the house with Bookworm Addict. We've got Dennis Hoff in the house, the guy who watches YouTube but doesn't comment on things, actually commented. This is a historic moment here. Sup, party people. We've got Steffers J in the house. C. Brooks. Andrew from Texas, the Nexus of the Schmexus, is also in the house. Pete Yeager is dropping bombs with Sniff It Out. Also in the chat, Amp Tunes is here. C. Brooks. Stan Grenfell in the house. PJ CC West. Troy McDrains. Intrigue Productions. Danny Yada. Leak Project is in the house. Nanu. The Heart Soul Healing. Bookworm Addict. And many others. Trying to get Rex up there. There we go. Moist Daddy is in the house. Who in the world? All right, we've got some serious stuff to talk about here. We've got a major Cat 4 hurricane. It is weakening, and as it weakens, take a look at the storm on the screen here. Let me get over to that enhanced satellite. You can see the storm on the screen is getting wider as it weakens. Yeah, that's going to be bringing storm surge all the way down through Fort Myers and south. The biggest threat for storm surge will be where landfall happens, which is somewhere just south of Sarasota, somewhere just south of Sarasota. So everywhere south of here for about 100 miles will be the largest affected as far as storm surge. Let's take a look at the current update number 18A coming from Hurricane Milton and the National Hurricane Center. Maximum sustained winds have dropped 15 miles per hour since the last update. Now 130 mile per hour storm, a very significant storm. This will continue to weaken as Milton makes its way onshore. The storm sped up moments ago, and it looks like landfall will be 7 p.m. or 8 p.m. this evening. There will be a large area of destructive storm surge with the highest inundations of 10 feet or greater. So if you are south of Tampa Bay and you are on the coast, you need to move inland. This is no joke. You don't have to evacuate the state. You just need to get out of that coastal area because your home will be your coffin. That is the official warning in the evacuation zones. And Florida residents refusing to flee from Milton are asked to write their names in permanent ink on their arm. And that's for easy identification. There are shelters. There are buses. It is not too late to move 10, 20 miles inland to a shelter to save your family and your life. It's that simple. So here we see Florida residents refusing to flee from Hurricane Milton told to write their names in permanent ink on their arm. I'm not making this up. And your home will be your coffin. That is the warning issued amid evacuations in Florida. So don't be a dum-dum. No need to win the next Darwin Award. You staying with your house is not going to protect a single thing. You should get your belongings, all of your important paperwork, and move inland. All of these shelters are open, and there are ways to get there for free. All right, enough of my rant. Let's see where we are in the chat here. We've got 400 watching. That is good news. A lot of this information will get out there. If you're in the storm surge warning area. This is an extremely life-threatening situation. The time to evacuate is now. If you remember some of the footage from Hurricane Ian inundating Fort Myers, that is exactly what we are going to see again. Not necessarily in Fort Myers, but certainly in other portions of Florida. The storm appears to be making landfall somewhere near Siesta Key in just about 8 hours. So if you're on any of these barrier islands, you need to get out now, and I hope everyone is gone. It looks like landfall will be between Siesta Key and Venice, and that means the hardest hit areas are going to be South Venice, Manasota Key, Cape Hayes, Rotunda West, the entire Cape here, Gasparilla Sound, Charlotte Harbor. They should all see huge storm surges. So Harbor Heights, El Jabin, Charlotte Harbor, evacuate from the coast if you are in any of these areas. I would also suggest evacuating from Boca Grande, Cayo Costa, Captiva. These islands are all going to be underwater, as well as all of Pine Island and much of the coast here near Cape Coral, all the way up to Punta Gorda. The biggest threat is going to be initially the storm surge and the landfall, but the bad news is that a huge area north of Tampa up through Orlando is going to receive biblical rainfall, 20 plus inches in some areas from Ormond Beach down to Titusville, Sanford, Ocala, the Villages, Claremont, Orlando, Kissimmee, Spring Hill, and the likes, all the way to Clearwater. This area is going to be inundated with rain, and that is because the northern portion of the storm is filled with moisture. Here is the current peak storm forecast that was just updated 2 hours ago. We can see some changing numbers here. Predicting 8 to 12 foot of storm surge from the Anclote River all the way down to Bonita Beach. But the hardest hit area, in my opinion, is going to be Anna Maria Island and south. And if you're in a coastal area in this region, you need to move inland now. You have just a few hours before those hurricane winds reach the shore. There is already reports of 50-mile-an-hour gusts in the Tampa Bay area. So those tropical storm winds are now blowing offshore here from east to west. That's because the circulation of the storm is counterclockwise, and it is going to be blowing the storm surge on the southern portion and pushing out the water on the northern portion. So if you're north of the storm, you're going to have the best chance of surviving this if you're on the coast, but no need to stay on the coast. Just move inland and save your frickin' life. That's enough said there. You want to talk about the tides? Let's take a quick look over at Siesta Key. I just closed the tab, so we'll have to reopen that, and I'll probably have to watch a video. Oh, no, here we go. So this is what it looks like currently at Siesta Key. And obviously there's some buffering there. This is live, and I'm pretty sure that my audio may be breaking up now. Yeah. We'll try to get that back up for you. So it is low tide. This is bad news. As the storm makes its way through here in the next 8 hours, landfall is going to be somewhere between 8 p.m., 9 p.m. The tide will continue to rise, and it will continue to rise all the way through impact of the storm. High tide is not until 5 a.m. in the morning. By that time, the storm will have made its way across Florida and will be affecting the east coast of Florida as opposed to the west coast. And yeah, it is not coming up, but this is a live shot of Siesta Key. It is buffering hard. And so yeah, there we go. You can see it's low tide. No threat right now, but the tide is coming up. And so heed the warnings. Just because it's low tide, it doesn't look threatening. That's bad news because the tide is going to be rising all day, all the way till 5 a.m. at Siesta Key. The key here is not to be near the coast anywhere or near a river. Why do we want to be away from rivers? Well, because of the epic amount of rain that is coming with this storm. It's already hitting the ground. There's a huge swath north to Tampa Bay where it is expected 20 inches on the coast. Both coasts could fall. That's going to be major river flooding Friday, Thursday, and Friday in this region. And that's going to be the second phase of the storm and maybe the most destructive after landfall. So first, the landfall, the storm surge south of Tampa Bay. The storm makes its way across the heavy rain that causes all of those rivers, which are already saturated, to crest once again and flood the entire region. I don't think you guys were seeing that. So here is the rainfall potential north of Tampa Bay. We're talking north of Orlando are going to be the hardest, 12 to 16 inches. I think it's going to be 20 plus in many of these areas. The rain bands are already dumping inches of rain. The entire state of Florida is saturated. It's been raining in southern Florida for days. The good news is that the southern portion of this storm is weak and it doesn't contain much moisture. As you can see here in the current 12Z run of the GFS model, it's going to just take 3, 6, 9 hours until that storm moves inland there. And it's showing the eye hitting, just like I said, about 50 miles south of Tampa Bay, somewhere near Siesta Key, potentially Venice. It will be making landfall as a Cat 3. It will move rapidly in just 6 hours across the entire state. And then it's going to be driving that storm surge up on the northern portion of Florida here. So if you're anywhere from the entire coast of South Carolina all the way down the northeast coast of Florida down to Daytona, you could be seeing some major storm surge there. And here you can see they're saying from Sebastian Inlet all the way up to Altamaha Sound, 3 to 5 foot of storm surge. Now, the worst potential again, Tampa Bay and south all the way to Fort Myers could be seeing 8 to 13 feet of storm surge. The numbers keep changing, but those are catastrophic. Anyone within a mile of the coast is going to be flooded. And if you're on the coast, well, you will be unalived, unfortunately. In Florida, no joke. Florida residents refusing to flee Hurricane Milton are told to write their names in permanent ink on their arm. That's how funny this storm is. Absolutely hilarious. Not really. You can see a major explosion here of moisture near just north of Okeechobee in the Okeechobee region. We've had multiple tornadoes in this area, maybe the largest tornado ever recorded in Florida. So there is a lot of tornadic activity with Hurricane Milton. Let's check some of the comments here. If you want me to answer a question, you're going to have to super chat it. There's far too many comments. I really can't find all of your questions. This is not geoengineering. Dave H16, go away. We don't need any misinformation or garbage in our chat. Florida is completely flat. The highest place in Florida is just a few hundred feet above sea level. That would be Mound Key, an artificial island in Estero Bay. There are other areas of Florida that are 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 feet above sea level on average. But the majority, actually the coastal areas, are near sea level, within 20 feet. And a number of the western coastal areas, a 15-foot storm surge could move water inland several miles. Bookworm Addict, there is tons in place. If you rewatch our update on Oppenheimer Ranch project from last night, Governor DeSantis has put in place the largest National Guard effort ahead of the storm that has ever been in place before a hurricane. There are tons of ATVs, UTVs, things that can get through roads that are closed. There are tons of boats, and they're going to be rescuing people real time during the storm, unlike what happened in North Carolina, where they were not prepared. Governor DeSantis, this is not his first rodeo. He's done this before, and all of the necessary recovery efforts are in place now. No one controls the joystick, Nunu. That's because you're dumb. Yeah, there seems to be a whole bunch of low IQ people that all of a sudden think that our corrupt, inept government somehow can make weather. I mean, are you listening to yourselves? You're living oxymorons. The amount of energy that HAARP produces is wait for it, 1/4 of the power of a single hurricane, the one you're looking at right here. 1/4. Yeah, HAARP can generate up to 3 megawatts of energy. Do you know how much energy is in Milton? Yeah. So shut up about your stupid HAARP and all your other garbage. They have patents on steering hurricanes. Yeah, they have patents on pink elephants flying. That doesn't mean it actually exists. Not a single hurricane steering patent produced an actual product. All you have to do is look into it. Time to look into it. They just look at the internet and they say, oh, it's real. Give me a fucking break already. Jesus Christmas. Ole. Flash flooding potential is real, folks. You can see a wide stretch from Orlando north with at least 70% probability of flash flooding. But then we've got the major river flooding, which will happen over the next 48 hours. So heed the warnings. And get out of the way of Hurricane Milton, for goodness sakes. Devastating hurricane force winds are expected along portions of the West Coast in just a few hours. Hurricane warnings are in effect. Milton is forecast to remain a hurricane the entire time it crosses Florida and to reemerge in the Atlantic as a Cat 1. Preparations to protect life and property, including being ready for long-duration power outages, should be rushed to completion. If they're not complete, get on a bus and get into a shelter. You still have a few hours to get to a shelter. There is no reason to unalive yourself. Heavy rainfall across the Florida Peninsula through Thursday brings risks of catastrophic and life-threatening flash and urban flooding, along with moderate to major river flooding, especially in areas where coastal and inland flooding combine to increase the overall flood threat. That means areas like on the Imperial River or any of the estuaries that are in the way here. Anywhere from Naples up to Bradentown, this is going to be the hardest hit area as this hurricane appears to be making its way towards Venice. And that's not the Venice in California. That is Venice Beach near Englewood and Sarasota, Northport. All these places will be destroyed. Any of the barrier islands will be completely stripped of homes. So anyone staying on the barrier islands here, say your prayers because you won't be alive much longer. Yeah, you really need to get inland for this one. This is a gigantic storm of historic proportion. I wasn't even sharing the tab. Here we are. We're going to take a look at the latest radar coming in from AccuWeather. The data is pumping in now. So once again, the hardest hit area is going to be Sarasota down through Cape Coral. This whole region, all of the barrier islands here, all of the structures on these barrier islands should be wiped away completely. Charlotte Harbor will be destroyed. There is going to be piles of boats in Port Charlotte, up in these estuaries here. Punta Gorda will see heavy flooding. South Venice is where landfall might be, or Venice, potentially. Anywhere between Siesta Key and Venice is where the eye will come ashore here around 8 p.m. tonight, which means if you are on the coast, you need to move inland now. These barrier islands will be completely stripped of homes and buildings. Oh, okay. The recent solar activity enhanced this storm days ago. The geomagnetic storm is over. That energy is already in Milton, which is why it rapidly intensified to Cat 5 the other morning. Alien Allen is in the house. It's not a direct hit on Tampa Bay at all. Tampa Bay is to the north of where the eye wall is going to hit. It is going to be the least affected. Tampa Bay, the winds will push the water away. There won't be much storm surge in Tampa Bay whatsoever because this storm has shifted south. There's going to be heavy rain and flooding. Tampa's going to get 20 inches, but there is no chance of a direct hit on CENTCOM in Tampa. More conspiracy garbage. All righty, folks. Yes, Mother Nature is going to weed out the weak in this one, unfortunately. Thanks to all 600, almost 700 people now watching. Please hit that thumbs up. We are going to do an update as this makes landfall tonight, right before landfall, between 6 and 8 p.m. We will be showing you some of the footage of the surge south of the eye wall. And we'll be going over power outages. Now, power outages have already begun, folks. Right before we kicked off the live stream, there were 30,000 without power in Florida, and we're going to refresh this right before your very eyes, and you're going to see that number jump already at 70,000 without power in less than an hour. This number will be in the millions, and it will stay in the millions for several days. So if you're in Florida, expect a very long time without power starting now. And if you're going to run a generator, make sure that you do it outside of your home. Do not run a generator in your house because, once again, you will get the Darwin Award. The storm surge goes as far inland as it is. So if it's a 15-foot surge, anywhere that is 15 foot above sea level will be covered in water. They do have maps for that. They're experimental. And let's see if we can pull up the storm surge inundation map where you can see the areas that are going to be inundated. It's going to take a while to refresh. So you can see how far the storm surge could come in here. Way in to Florida. Way in. So this is no joke, folks. Look at all the flooding. Look at how far the storm surge will come in here. Any areas in red will be under 10 feet of water or more. Any of the areas in orange should see 5 foot or more inundation. The blue areas could see inundation. This is going to affect millions of lives. Millions in Northport. Homes will be destroyed and flooded. So there is the storm surge inundation. Right now, it looks like this is going to be the worst hit area. Oh my. If you're in any of these colored regions, you need to move inland. You need to move inland. Did you get the memo? Yes, you need to move inland. This baby is huge, and it's coming to get you. Most of Punta Gorda will be underwater. Most of Port Charlotte will be underwater. Rotonda West, underwater. Englewood, Venice. Get out of Dodge and move inland. I can't stress it enough. So major rain bands now coming into Port Charlotte, Punta Gorda. And they're having trouble with the Siesta Key live stream. We're going to have some live streams for you tonight. Remember that high tide is not forecast until 5 a.m. in the Siesta Key area. That's good news, because if high tide was at 8 p.m. coupled with the storm surge, it would make it much worse. But what this is going to do is keep rising the water throughout the entirety of the storm. And we might get some more flooding again at 5 a.m. on the West Coast. Heed the warnings. If you're in any of the red, purple, or even orange area, just be safe. If you're on the coast, move your way inland to one of those shelters and ride it out. You only have to be there for 24 hours, folks. I hope that helped. We will have more information coming up this evening between 6 and 8 p.m. I don't know when we'll have the video up, but it will be during landfall, and we will have coverage for you then. Thank you all for watching. Please hit the thumbs up as you exit. And if you're on the coast, move inland now. I can't stress that enough.